Wow! Hi everybody, Hutch here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm very excited to announce that the HyperRig is here, and I'm going to show you how I use it. So I'm going to show you all the features. We'll do all of that. I'm going to build a patch, and I'm just so excited to get into it. So I've known the guys for a while at PolyChrome DSP, and I was lucky enough to get like a version like early, so I've been working with this for some time now, and I've got to say I absolutely love it. I use it all the time. I've been making tons and tons of presets, some of which are actually included in the release of this. So I hope you all get it and really enjoy my presets. But anyway, I'll just show you my process of how I do it. So let's just get in and have a look. How about that? All right. Now, the other thing to say is I'm going to try and to do no edits. I want this to be like a kind of live thing, okay? So we're just going to get in there. And if the mistakes happen, they'll happen. All right, here we go. All right, push the button. Where is it? It's here. And we'll get the plugin. So there we go. Here we have the Kiesel HyperRig by PolyChrome. Look at that. So already the colours are absolutely amazing. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is actually a preset, that little opening solo that I did. That was just a quick preset I made absolutely in no time at all, and as you can hear, it's absolutely devastatingly brilliant. But let us go to the initial patch. So this is the first sort of sound that'll come out of this. So that's what you're going to hear at first. And that is the initial patch. So let's just go through it and see what is what. So if we look sort of at the bottom here on this first tab, we've got all the pedals. The second tab, we've got the speakers, we've got the EQ, and we've got the effects. So we've got all these things, and the cool thing is we can now click on them and switch them on and off if we so wish. Okay. So what I like to do, right, when I'm starting to build a tone, is I like to start really just with the initial patch. If we're building some high gain, and then what I'll do is I'll just pick an IR. Okay, I'll just pick whatever I fancy on the day, really. So that's 2. That sounds good. 3. So I'm leaning more towards 2 today. So that's the first thing I'll do. And then the next thing is I'll just start adding a little bit of gain, as much as I think I need really, just on the amp head. So very good. Now the next thing to do here is I'll start adding, so that'll become sort of the platform, and then I'll have a look at kind of adding a pedal. So here we have the pedals. We've got a compressor, we have a boost, and we have a drive pedal, and we also have a chorus. So I'm going to go for the boost pedal for this. So one of my favorite things is I use the boost pedal like you would use, like a tube screamer or something like that. I just boost loads of level into the amp, turn the drive right down, and have everything flat. So you'll get this sort of sound. I'll introduce the level. So that's at 5, the default. So that's starting to sound pretty cool. All right, and then we can move on from there. So after that, I'll just start adding what I think on the amp, just to, you know, if I need to brighten it or make it more bassy. But to be fair, the way that this amp sounds just straight out of the box on its default at everything set to 12 o'clock or 5 sounds really good. So there's not much work to really do here. I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. Quite like the mids on it. And we've got push here. So push is really good. That just like puts more volume into the valves. So we get even more sort of like beef. So that's starting to sound really, really, really big there. I'm loving that. So I'll have to excuse my playing today because it's really early in the morning. This is the first time I've played. But anyway, I'm here to show the amp. Okay, now we've got a tight button that just takes a little bit of low end off, rounds it off nice. So it's just taking a little bit of the flubbiness away from the low end there. And then, as we move through, right, so we'll come back to the cab section because there's a few things that are really very, very handy here. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about this is it's got this very simple room sound. So if we have a listen to this, I'm going to turn up to 10. You can really hear this room. So that sounds really good, doesn't it? But I don't want all of that, so I'm just going to add a little bit. I just want a little bit of air around the mic for a bit of realism, bit of air, bit of room. Let's have a listen. Not much. Maybe there. That's sounding good. Right. Let's move on. So far we've got our amp set up, we've got our drive pedal going into the amp, we've got our IR, and then the next thing to do really is to add some effects. But one more thing before I do that is we've got the filters here. So this is just a low pass and a high pass filter. Now I really, really like these because the cool thing about them is they're very, very musical. They don't really destroy your guitar sound like some EQs do. So just have a listen to this. So that's really nicely tightening up that low end. And then if we want to take a little bit of the fizz off the top, we can do that as well. Alright, so moving on, we can do some effects now. So the effects are really, really amazing. So the first thing we've got is a delay, and it's simply laid out very clearly. We've got time, so mine's in sync, so it's doing musical values. So I've got quarter notes on here, feedback 25. We've got ducking, so ducking, if you don't know what the ducking is, basically it's just volume attenuation inside the plugin, that when you're playing a note on your guitar, that it actually pushes the volume down on the delay, so you don't get everything sort of muddied up with delays and guitars all sort of happening. A really cool thing to have, because what it means is you can use more of the effect, so when you stop playing you can get that nice sort of vapor trail of delays happening. We've got these great filters. Right now I really think these filters are excellent because they give you that almost lo-fi vibe. So I'll dial those in a minute, and then we've got the mix, and then we've got standard, ping pong and wide on this delay, and we'll just see what each one of those does. And we'll pick one. So at the minute we've got ping pong, but I need to switch it on. Switch it on. There we go. So there we go. Sounds great, doesn't it? So what we'll do, we'll just put in a little bit. I'm just going to roll off a little bit of the low end of the delay. So just have a listen. Very nice. I'll take a little bit more top end off. Now I love how that just kind of goes immediately into the background. I mean, that would be a great sort of intro to a song, isn't it? So I love the way that sounds. And the ping pong's just wide enough that it's not really getting in the way of the guitar whatsoever. So I really like that. Okay, so we can go for a bit of ducking. So we get the ducking up. So you can hear, even just with that setting there, go for 30. So you can hear the volume of the delay when I stop playing and the gaps coming up, and then we can hear the delays and the repeats, and when I'm playing, it's just pushing it down just a little bit. So that's a really handy feature to have. Okay, so I'm just going to switch that off for now, and then we're going to go to the reverb. All right, so I'll switch the reverb on, and here we have it. So I don't need as much reverb as that, but we've got the usual setup on here. We've got a pre-delay, we've got diffusion, we've got time, modulation, and then we've got low-pass, high-pass filters, and we've got this mid EQ, which is really, really handy because you know, sometimes it can just move a little bit of the mids for the more room for guitar, or sometimes if you're wanting more sort of ambient affected guitars, what I've been doing is pushing that up, and we'll do a quick clean sound, and we'll do that. We'll see what that does. But basically, what we'll do is I'm just going to get the mix down a little bit. In fact, what we'll do is I'm going to crank it up because I want you to hear what this effect's doing. So, usually when I set my reverbs up, sometimes I'll just crank them up quite loud, and then just get the filter sounding the way that I want it. So I don't want all that low end muddying up the bottom of the guitar. So I'll go right up. It's really nice and subtle the way it's rolling off that low end. And then if we want a duller sounding reverb, alright, let's hear what this mid's doing. So I'll turn it all the way down. So just nicely clearing a bit of room out, and then if we go the other way, it pushes it forward more. So that's really handy. I'll just take a little bit down there, maybe there. Alright. And then I'll add a bit of diffusion because I do like a little bit of modulation because I do like modulation on my reverbs. Beautiful. Let's take the mix down. Oh, of course, one thing you'll have noticed, there's a little bit of noise happening on the guitar, just with me using gain. Well, we've got just up at the top here, as a side note, we've got this gate, and it's just it's basically one knob. That's it, and you turn it up, and it kills all the noise. It's really good. I'll go for there. Right. But again, the gate, I mean, all of the effects, even the stuff that you would consider to be utility type effects or parameters like the ducking on the delay, like the filters on everything are all really, really music. They're not done in theory to do a job. They've actually, these have been designed by, Thomas and the guys to be musical, to be super usable, and to give you, absolutely the best results. So anyway, the gate's the same as well. When you crank the gate up, it's like dead musical. It doesn't, cut your notes off too early and stuff like that. It's got a nice fade to it. So it never really gets, things like that never really get in the way on this. So, right, where are we up to? Okay, so I've got the mix down to where I want. I've got a bit of modulation, time. So if we add, let's crank the time right up. I love the trail on that. I'm going to take it down a bit. Alright, add the delay in, and here we go. We've got our lead. That sounds great, doesn't it? Okay, right, I'll tell you what we'll do now, because it's kind of like live this. I'm trying not to do too many edits. But let's move on to maybe a clean sound. And then we'll do one more high gain, which I'll just blast through really, really quickly. Right, okay, let's go to a different amp. So to change the amps, we've got these three buttons here. And we've got the maple. So the maple is the clean amp. I'll just take the boost off. But actually, that sounds really good. Sounds really dynamic. Anyway, I'll take the boost off. So this is how the maple amp sounds. That sounds really good. So let's do some stuff to it. We've got gain, so we can crank the gain up, get a little bit of drive to it if we want. Just take the delay off for now. And I'm actually just really digging that sound the way that it is. But we've got a bright switch to make it nice and bright. And I think that just adds like a fixed Kelvin EQ that's, if I remember rightly in the amp, in the manual, it's before the amp. Very nice. Again, we've got a usual EQ, bass, middle, treble, presence, but we have sparkle. You can hear that just lifting that tone up. And I love the way that, when I'm picking, it sounds really, really dynamic. I can hear the amp when I pick hard breaking up more and then going much cleaner when I'm playing lightly. So that's really good. Presence, sparkle, and then our usual push. all sounding absolutely amazing. But what if we want, let's just go back, I'll set everything to 5 o'clock because I want something a bit more cleaner. So add a bit of sparkle. We'll have the bright switch in, and let's have a bit of compression. So here's the compressor, and the cool thing about this is we've got two knobs on it. That's sounding really good. And we can actually push some more, we can push a little bit of gain into the amp as well. Which is handy, so whatever you think you're losing off your compression, pushing the volume down of the guitar, we can add in on the gain. And got, so the next thing, I'll just add a little bit of the master onto here. Just lift the volume up a bit. So I'm just turning this up a bit because I want the output at the top here to be flicking sort of like blue, green. I want to be avoiding red because that means I'm clipping. Okay, cool. So the next thing I'm going to add is some chorus. Check this chorus out. So that's it set on the classic mode, and then we've got the swirl. I'm loving that chorus. I think I'll have the amount at 5. 50%. We'll go subtle. So I'm really loving the way that sounds. Again, on this we've got lots of different IRs. It's 2, 3, 4. I'm going to stick with 1. Now, we could really do with some room on this. I mean, I actually just, when I'm practicing, I like to just crank the room up. And pretend I'm in a rehearsal room on my own. Or a really nice studio. So that's cool. We'll add a little bit of room in there. And then we get to the effects. So I really fancy some massive delay on this. Sorry, some really big reverb. So crank that time up. Now I just want this clean sound to be almost like a synth pad type sound, so I really want to crank that reverb up. A bit more high end. Let's get that filter up. Let's push the mid. Right, that's sounding well good. And then we have, I mean, basically that's how I'd set up this type of clean. And then I think from here, we've got one more amp to try out. So let's have a look at the Infusion. Now, this is really good. And we'll give this a go. So all I'm going to do, again, I'm just going to switch off everything except the amp and the cab. So just compare the two. That's the Infusion and the Carbon. I think the Carbon, maybe it's more modern sounding. Maybe that's more modern sounding. I'm not so sure. But either way, straight out the box, there are two different types of flavour of high gain. But I really like the tightness of this Infusion amp. So again, I'm just going to pick a IR. Now I'm going to go for that 2x12 IR, that's sounding really good to me. I'll give it some mid boost. Now we've got some air, so that's just nicely lifting the sound. Some room. Okay, and then we've also got this resonance here. Now this resonance puts just a little bit of a low end bump. So sometimes I like to use that if I need to cut quite high with this, and then the guitar starts sounding thin, I can actually add a little bit of resonance bump on it to thicken it up a bit. But I mean, these controls here are like really, really handy. You know, if you're mixing, especially like high gain rhythm guitars, there's like a lot of you can do just on this section just to get your guitar to fit into a track. I mean, often what I'll do is if a guitar isn't quite gelling and I've got to use a lot of EQ, I'll just actually flick through IRs to find the one that actually suits the track the most, and then I can just kind of modify the sound. So if it's too flubby, too bassy, I can take the low end off it. If it's too hissy, take the high end off here. If it gets too thin because I've taken off too much of the low end, I can add some back in on the resonance. And if we need more air and general presence, then we can do it here as well. So that's really good. Okay, and then same process again. So in fact, this time we'll leave the gain So what I'm interested in is what the gain pedals can do for us. So I'm going to use the drive pedal here. Take the compressor off. Right, so everything's set to to noon, to 12 o'clock. I'm just going to take the drive down a bit and get the level up. let's add some drive in. Very good. And then we're going to add a little bit more gain off this amp. So the tight just takes away low end. So that's probably a bit too much there. All right, okay, and then on the amp we'll add a bit of bass. That's sounding pretty raucous there. Alright. So I think that's pretty much set up quite nicely there. And I think we're going to do some little bit of shaping. So on the EQs, what we've got here, switch them on, is we've got two. So we've got the shape EQ, which you can either have after the amp or before it. And I love anything with sliders. Anybody who comes on and watch me making music, if I ever go for synths, I always go for things like SH101s, you know, things like that have got sliders rather than rotary knobs. I just think it's like I can easily see where I'm at with these things. So I do love these types of EQs, you know, so you know visually where you're at. Okay. So let's just start shaping the sound. The other cool thing is we can have this after or before the amp. So if I wanted to like push a frequency into the amp, I can do that as well. Let's just try that. Actually, I really like the sound of this EQ curve that I've got going into the amp. So now I've done that, what I can do is I can just add a little bit of finish and EQ. So we've got the mastering EQ, and this is just right at the end of the chain. And we can just add some subtle changes in. So the cool thing is about this is that I find that the default settings sound pretty good. Alright, and we'll do a little bit more in here. Alright, and just for good measure, let's have some effects added. So there's one more thing that I need to show you on here, two more things actually. And one of them is the wide button at the top here. So we'll push that in, check this out. Without. Back in. So what I like about this wide, right, it's not like a straight ahead Hass effect. So like a lot of the times you can get into a lot of like problems when you're just using Hass because you're using a delay to widen the sound and it removes the center frequencies, so you've only got a left and a right. Now that can sometimes be a problem when we're talking about mono compatibility. So if somebody plays your music in a mono environment, what you can find is your guitars and high-end instruments like just like disappear or lose volume. So this wide doesn't do this. It still preserves the center frequencies to my ears, and you still get that lush sort of wide sound. But also works nice with the effects as well. So everything sort of seems to just stay out of each other's ways. Where turn this down a bit. So that's sounding really good there. So that's the wide, and then of course we've got the HyperTune. Now this is really, really cool because let's just go down. Check that out. What a beast. And this will actually go all the way down to an octave. Now the amazing thing about this is the actual latency. So when I'm looking at the latency of this, you know, for a pitch plugin with running an amp, the latency is only 0.045 milliseconds. And that is absolutely incredible for this kind of quality pitch shifting. It's really good and it's so playable. So I don't have any latency, nothing like that. And to my ears, the pitching effect sounds great. So we can go up an octave. Let's try that. So this is a real, like, this is great for me because I have a template at the minute where I'm using a lot of pitch plugins on guitars, so I can have my guitar sound like a bass, or I can have it sounding like a lead with an octave higher. But it all adds with what I'm using, not mention any names, it all adds latencies, and the project becomes very, very, you know, difficult to use. You know, you always like playing with this kind of time delay, and it really just affects your performance, whereas this doesn't. And this is the big thing about all of the PolyChrome stuff, is the latency is so low. I'm so funny about latency, honestly. Like, I have to have everything. The maximum I can have is just below 7 milliseconds. Anything after that, I can feel it. So this, we don't have that. This is like really super fast. 2 samples, 0.045 latency. In fact, funnily enough, that 0.0045 is what you earn every time your track gets played on Spotify in terms of dollars. So it's low. It's low. It's as low as my Spotify earnings, which is great. So I think that just about covers everything. So I'm going to turn around and say bye to everybody. And then we're done. All right, so that was me, Hutch, showing you the HyperRig by PolyChrome DSP. And what a wonderful program, what a wonderful plugin it is. And I've got to say congratulations to the guys. I know them and they're just great, great people. You know, obviously I'm in the band with like Thomas as well, and so I've watched this plugin grow, I've watched them grow as a company, and it's been like really, really exciting, and it's a privilege and an honor to sit here and be able to show you something like this. It's just a wonderful thing. Now, if you like this, you know, if you like this channel, which I hope you do subscribe to it. I'm always needing subscribers. And the other thing is if you want to learn to make tons and tons of music, I do run a couple of music coaching groups. So if you're maybe one of those guitarists who would love to write music, or just write your own backing tracks, but you find it hard, or you're procrastinating and you never get round to it, then this is the place that you need to be. So the first thing I can help you with is I do regular live sessions here, and you can watch me make music, and you can ask me questions, and there's a lot of things I can do to offer help and support there. The other thing is you can actually just join a coaching group, and if you're interested in that, just send an email. My email is in the description. There's also the email to sign up for the mailing list as well, because at some point, you know, occasionally I'll do free offers of things like kick drums or sample packs that may come your way, so it's always worth looking out for that as well. But anyway, this has been an absolute blast, and forgive me for the mistakes, but I just wanted to get this video out there and just get it all done in one go. So there we go. Thank you everybody, and it's bye from me.